Seems like that could almost be one of our hymns, right? Because it's all about the interdependent web of all existence. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Any people who are guests, you are especially welcome. And we have a guest preacher from out of town herself, Dr. Isabel Call. So let us welcome her. For those of you who are in fact not Unitarian ministers who are visiting and want to learn more about this congregation or denomination, there's literature outside, but the best way to get to know us is join us for coffee afterwards, where, well, we're a group that likes to talk, and I bet you could get us under a couple of cups of coffee, and we'd tell you everything. So join us there, and you can find out more about the denomination and the institution of Unitarian Universalism. The people who are watching from home, hello, I haven't forgotten you. And if you are visitors out there, you can look up information about the UUA at uua.org, and you can also look up material about this church. I think the link is probably on the page that got you to the video. So welcome. Now it is time for us to get up, shake the sillies out, and greet one another. Those of you who are at home, feel free to say hi in the chat, and please, emojis, emojis, emojis. Yeah, announcements, yeah. I see that the sillies have all settled. Nice comeback. It's good to be here. It's good to be here together. And Phil has an announcement, I believe, regarding stewardship campaign.
Good morning. It's time for another update on our stewardship campaign, and we are inching closer to our goal. We're up to 93% of our goal. But that means we're still about $33,000 short. And the board has another meeting to discuss our budget for next year and finalize it a week from Tuesday. So we really need to get where we're going to get by then. I have increased, or Sandra and I have increased our pledge just recently. Not me alone. And I would ask everybody to consider doing that if you can, to help us get there and avoid absolutely draconian cuts that we would need to make. So if you would consider doing that, the easiest way to take care of increasing a pledge is either to email Emily or Shay in the office, or to fill out one of the paper pledge forms with what your increase is. If you have any questions about that or anything else, please see me after the service. Thanks.
Yeah, I know, this won't work out quite so well, so we're not going to even make that attempt. We're just going to do...
The words of Mary Oliver. Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Now, please rise in body or spirit for hymn 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining.
Just going to toss a question out there. What sort of fears do rainbows have? Okay. So, as Kelly comes up to light the chalice, please join in stating the words that are part of our covenant. They are on the wall behind me, but you guys know it by heart, so speak it from your heart and affirm that love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. This church participates in Soul Matters, and every month there is a different theme that the Soul Matters groups reflect on. The children also do this in their classrooms, and we do it here in the service. The theme for June is the path of delight. Here's my reflection on that theme. It seems especially appropriate this week that the theme for June is the path of delight. For Friday, June 16th, was Bloomsday, the celebration of James Joyce's Ulysses. And I'm glad to see that everyone has recovered from their celebration. Joyce's work famously ends with the words, "Yes, I said, yes, I will, yes." And that got me thinking of hymn number 6 from our hymnal, "Just as Long as I Have Breath," which we sing pretty regularly, which ends with the line, "And if they ask me what I did best, or if they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to life." In the end, it seems to me, what one has to do to find oneself on the path of delight, a path that I'm not sure you can ever find if you go looking for it, but a path that you might find yourself on, is one has to say yes to life. And I think it has to be that exuberant, even ecstatic yes of Molly Bloom that ends Joyce's great work. It has to be the yes of improvisation practice, where you don't shoot down someone else's idea, but you accept it, say yes and then you build on it. But you have to be careful with that yes. Most Unitarians that I know love "Just as Long as I Have Breath." I've used it myself, focusing on the apparent positivity in the hymn. But there is a snake lying in the grass. Let's look again at the final stanza of that hymn, where the narrator proudly declares, "When they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to life." For the lines immediately preceding this final declaration go as follows: "Disappointment pierced me through. Still, I kept on loving you." Ouch! There's some serious judgment there. Something like, "Though you're a slacker and possibly a brute, I, the better person, have stood steadfast in my love." I doubt that that was the author's intention, but what we have here is a creeping Puritanism, the idea of being superior to others with a little judgment thrown in just for taste. I would argue that such judgment will not put you on the path of delight or joy's highway. Rather, it's a roadblock. What you do if you're focused on judging others is you're focused on that judgment and not, in fact, on enjoying life and in delight. So it cuts us off from our fellows and cuts us off from the path. Instead of doing that, let's see what we can do to help our powder-wigged, pated Puritan within, you know that Puritan is there, to lose the superior smirk and instead titter, chortle, erupt with a belly laugh of felicitous friendship as we find ourselves on the path of delight. And now, time for all ages.
I'd like to invite all of the children and young people up to the front for a little chat with Reverend Dr. Izza and myself.
Come on up. I'll have to lean over here so I can see you all. So I wonder if you all saw on the screen earlier the flowers blooming. Did you catch that? Did you see that up there? So I love how flowers celebrate. I love spring. We wait all winter and sometimes even give up hope, almost, that things will be warm and green. And then finally the flowers come. It's a big celebration. So then, what happens after the flowers bloom? Any thoughts? Any thoughts out there from the larger children? The petals fall. They die. The flowers die. The bees come. So yeah, the blooms, there's blooming, there's bees. There's some time before the petals fall and the flowers die. But eventually they do. The flowers do die. The plant might stay green, but then the plant itself will wilt and go gray and brown in the winter. That's true for many plants. But then, what happens? At the end of winter, they already died. After they died, yeah, they flower again. So it's spring again. So we go round and around and around. And that's part of what I'm talking about today with celebration.
Similar to how flowers can bloom and then they die and they go round and round and round in that cycle. Did you know, have you ever heard someone talking about music as being in a round, going round and round and round? You may not have known that that's the special musical term for it, but our congregation sings rounds a lot. And one of the songs we're singing in the service today is really important to Pastor Izza. It's called, "I Know This Rose Will Open." And this song is actually about how a cycle of a flower always comes back around and blooms round and round. And the song itself is called "Around." So it turns out, so what is a round? So these two books that I brought with me, do you recognize these books? These are our song books. We use both of these song books to sing songs together as a community in our church services. And they have a lot of different kinds of songs in them. Some of the songs have the same notes over and over, but the words change every time we sing the same notes over and over. And some of the songs in the book have the same notes over and over again and the same words over and over and over again. And kind of like the song that never ends. Do you know the song that never ends? Should we sing it or should we not get it in our heads this morning? Too late? So these songs are what we call rounds, the ones that have the same notes and the same words, and it kind of just goes around in a circle. So I want to teach us this song since we're singing it later in the service today. So will you help me learn it and teach it to the congregation? We've sung this together before, so you might recognize it. I'll sing it first so that you can hear it. I have to find my words, though. Okay. Oh, it turned right to it. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. So that had 4 sentences in it. Do you remember what the 4 sentences are? What's the first one? I know this rose will open. Will you say that with me? I know this rose will open. What was the second sentence? Do you remember it? Do you want me to sing the song again so you can hear it? I'll sing it again. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. What was the second sentence? Do you remember? Does anyone remember? I know my fear will burn away. You got it. I fear will burn away. Will you sing that with me? I know my fear will burn away. Good. Do you remember the third sentence? Oh, that's close. Not this one, but that's the next one. So remember that. The third sentence is, I know my soul will unfurl my wings. Yes, I know. Will you sing that with me? I know my soul will unfurl its wings. And then the last one is the same as the first. Yes. I know this rose will open. Good. You just learned the whole song. Did you know you could do that so fast? Let's sing the whole thing together now. So, I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. Good. I have some helpers today because I thought maybe we could try singing this in a round. When we sing in a round, that would be one person starting the song. And then if I were to start the song, you would start the song after I was partway through. And then after we're partway through, you might start the song. And then after we're partway through, then you would start. So we're all singing the same song at different times. Crazy. It makes my brain hurt a little bit sometimes. So I have my helpers here to help us. So I thought we could split into groups. We're going to split into 2 groups. I'm going to have Carla and Jim be one group. And I'm going to have Amanda and Danny be the other group. And why don't we join them? Would you like, how about we have, what's your name? Cordelia. Will you join Carla and Jim? And what's your name? Amelia and Eliza. Will you join my second group with Amanda and Danny? Will you come stand with them and we'll sing the song together? And then I'm going to join, since you don't have another partner with you, I'm going to come join with you. Is that okay? Okay. We'll be group number 1, and you can be group number 2. Okay? And I'll let you know when to come in. We'll sing it once together, all together, and then we'll start, and you'll come in after. Here we go.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Yeah, very nice. Would you like to come have a seat and we'll finish out time for all. Can I get a round of applause for our helpers this morning? So when we were singing that together, did you hear how we were singing the same song, but it was happening at different times? Because you were singing the same words as we were, but we were singing at a different time than you were. Was that a little, how was that for you? Did you like that? Was it confusing? Confusing? Do you think if more practice would be more fun, if we had more fun to practice? We could have fun. If we practice more, it could be really fun, because then you can have, it could really be the song that never ends, because then we could have like 100 people. Can you imagine like 100 different starts to that song? Right? We maybe have 100 people here today. We could try it right now.
So my focus today is thinking about celebration as a practice, so something we try over and over again. And what I like about this round is that we're all practicing together, even at on our own rhythm, at our own start time. I also love about this song, like I started out, just thinking about how things come back. We can celebrate the beginning of the song, we can grieve the end of the song, but then we can start over. And so it helps me remember that it's important to celebrate when the time is right, like flowers do. I think that is all we have now. So let's celebrate the kids, and we'll sing them out to their classes.
We come to this place to see and to be seen, to teach and to be taught, to hear and to be heard. Now, look about you and see all the people that are here today. We are here together, gathered in peace and authenticity and intention. We come to this place to share our joys and our sorrows. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to come over to the table and to light a candle. You can share what's in your heart or on your mind in 1 or 2 sentences. You could share with a single word, or you can share in silence and simply light a candle.
Ten years ago this month, Yvonne's father, Terrell Gibbons, passed away. He was a great guy, and we both still miss him.
My name is Curtis, and I'm lighting a candle of joy. A month ago, I came here and I spoke about my daughter who had an attempt on her life, and she was released, and that was joyful. And then she had a moment of hospitalization a week ago and was in a hospital for a week. But she was released Friday joyfully, and she signed a lease for her own apartment yesterday. So my 18-year-old girl also wrote me a letter telling me how much she loved me for standing by her recently. So this is a candle of joy for my daughter and her newfound independence, and I'm scared.
18 months ago, I lost a friend to COVID. And then just 2 weeks ago, I lost his little sister. But at least now I know they're in peace.
Open your hand. There you go. Who's on the floor? This is just for all the fathers. Happy Father's Day.
And I will light the remaining candles for all those joys and sorrows that are deep in our hearts. They were not spoken, but they are no less real. They reside in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. The mic didn't want to go off. Let's take a moment to come fully into the place. Put your feet flat on the floor. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And relax into your chair. Allow your breathing to deepen beautifully. Wiggle your jaw. Twinkle your toes. Melt. Notice an area that is tense or tight. Embrace it. And let it know that it can relax. It's okay to relax. Let the bustle of getting here, of all the stuff that you had to do this morning, melt away and come into this space of holiness.
You may stay seated for the meditative hymn. I have some helpers singing it with me today. We're going to sing it once through all together, and then we're going to split into groups. This is a round. So we'll have group number 1, group number 2, and group number 3.
Resounding with the dawn to sing like the light, and so
Hear these words of Richard S. Gilbert, though the opening is an epigraph from E.B. White. It's hard to know when to respond to the seductiveness of the world and when to respond to its challenge. If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If it were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I arise in the morning torn between the desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. I rise in the morning torn between the desire to save the world or savor it, to serve life or to enjoy it, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor, to celebrate life with an exuberant step or to struggle for the life of the heavy laden. What am I to do when the guilt at my bounty clouds the sky of my vision, when the glow which lights my every day illumines the hurting world around me? To savor the world or to save it? God of justice, if there be such, take from me the burden of my question. Let me praise my plenitude without limit. Let me cast from my eyes all troubled folk. No, you will not let me be. You will not stop my ears to the cries of the hurt and the hungry. You will not close my eyes to the sight of the afflicted. What is that you say? To save, one must serve? To savor, one must save? The one will not stand without the other? Forgive me. In my preoccupation with myself, in my concern for my own life, I had forgotten. Forgive me, God of justice. Forgive me and make me whole.
This being Father's Day, I want to dedicate my words to my biological father, Malcolm Call, who died 17 years ago, and to Charlie Omquist, the man I now call my dad. So I've known Charlie since he was my third grade Sunday school teacher at the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. He and my mom got together much later. Charlie has always been very careful not to take Malcolm's place, but as our relationship deepens, we are claiming each other as family. So I'm going to take a breath here and honor Charlie and Malcolm, as well as all your dads in whatever family configuration you have found, and all the people of all genders you have found to help you learn and grow up and feel safe and know that you are loved. Thank you. So I have a secret to tell you all. Yesterday was my 40th birthday. Thank you. Yes. So I've been having thoughts and feelings about it, about mortality. I knew it was coming, and I made some effort to psych myself up for it, knowing I would preach today. I chose the topic of celebration. Now, you all are familiar with flower communion, which you celebrated a few weeks ago. Since I'm interested today in both celebration and mortality, I want to share a life story of the father of flower communion, Norbert Čapek. Dr. Čapek was born in the Czech Republic in 1870. At 18, he discovered the Baptists and became a Baptist minister. World War I was heating up just as his faith became more and more liberal, which earned him the attention of the German authorities. This prompted him to relocate to the United States, where he pastored a Baptist church in New Jersey and aroused suspicion among conservative ministers who had him tried for heresy. So that's the clue that he's a Unitarian ancestor. Norbert ultimately resigned as a Baptist minister. He and his wife, Maya, joined a Unitarian church, and then a few years later, they took Unitarianism back to Prague, where they founded a new church, and they first practiced flower communion in 1923. Everyone brought a flower from the countryside or their garden and collected them in a common vase. And then they went home with a different flower than the one they brought. It celebrated their unity, their diversity, and their interdependence. Over the next 20 years, Maya was ordained a Unitarian minister, and their church grew to 3,200 members. As I think you know, this is not the end of the story. This is the part of the story where we are forced to remember that joy and sorrow are woven finely together in the human experience. During World War II, Maya relocated to the U.S. to raise funds for relief efforts in Czechoslovakia. She also pastored a Unitarian church in Massachusetts, where she introduced the flower communion that was passed down to us. Still in Prague, in 1942, Norbert Čapek was arrested by the Gestapo officially for the crime of listening to foreign news. At Dachau concentration camp, he led a flower communion with other prisoners, finding flowers tucked among the weeds in the yard. In the words of Reverend Teresa and David Schwartz, they testify to a beauty larger than themselves and a love that would outlive them. Norbert Čapek wrote this just before his life was ended. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Oh, blow ye evil winds into my body's fire, my soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, my life was worth living. He who was pressed from all sides, but remained victorious in spirit, is welcomed into the choir of heroes. He who overcame the fetters, giving wing to the mind, is entering into the golden age of the victorious. It was not until the war was over that Norbert Čapek's family and community learned of his death. So I celebrated the flower communion as a kid. If I heard the story of Norbert Čapek as a martyr, I didn't remember it. I just remember the flower communion being fun. So for the 100th anniversary, the UUA prepared many materials for the flower communion, and many frame it as a ritual of solemnity and joy. One resource asks for silence throughout. So as I planned this service at my church, the UU Fellowship of Manhattan, Kansas, I wondered, is that the right approach for us? And in this month, the 40th anniversary of my birth, is that how I am called to lead? Solemnity and joy? I felt the tension from Richard Gilbert's poem earlier, torn between the desire to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor. And as E.B. White said, this makes it hard to plan the day, not to mention a worship service. Those of us who awoke this morning in our own beds had many choices, many more choices than many other humans, waking up at other times and other places. And as ethical people, we choose to make plans to save the world. But ultimately, we're not in control, and if we spend all our energy working and grieving, we miss our precious lives. Naming celebration as a spiritual practice is to make plans also, plans to savor the world. A spiritual practice is something we do on a regular basis out of faith. The spiritual practices that have been most meaningful to me are those that help me know that I am here now, and it's beautiful. You all are beautiful. Embodied, good spiritual practices for me are embodied, and they are infused with gratitude. Celebration as a spiritual practice connotes gratitude too, plus a dose of exuberance. Flowers are perfect for celebration. They are so exuberant. In the the time-lapse video we showed earlier, we see the flowers dancing as they get ready to bloom. And when the time comes, kazam! Wow! What a celebration, an explosion of yes. It's almost reckless, but also entirely appropriate and correct. So I was leading our flower communion service with Judy, and Judy really wanted to play the song Happy by Pharrell Williams when we came forward to get our flowers. Do you all know that song? Anyone know that song? Well, I'm going to sing it to you. It's my birthday. I'm going to take this risk. I will invite you in. I think it'll be obvious when it's your turn. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. Air like I don't care, baby, that's the way. 'Cause I'm happy. Because I'm happy. Because I'm happy. Because I'm happy. Because I'm happy. Come on. Because I'm happy. because I'm happy. Because I'm happy. All right, thank you. Here, give us a round of applause. Yes. Thank you. So now you don't need to sing the happy birthday song for me. We've gotten that out of the way. So when I was considering whether to use this song in our flower communion, and I invite you to go listen to it again when you get home, and get some of your sillies out while you listen. So I was wondering whether to use it, and I wondered what Norbert would think. I wanted to know a little more about the song. So I did some research. It came out 10 years ago as part of the soundtrack for an animated film. People all over the world loved it, and they made tribute videos for it. One was made in Iran. Do you all remember this story? Anybody? So happy, silly young people dancing together without their headscarves in a video that accidentally went viral. This attracted the attention of authorities. The young people were found guilty of illegal distribution of the film and illicit relations. And they were sentenced to prison terms and 91 lashes for being happy. The sentences were suspended for 3 years, which means I think they didn't receive the punishments, but they were threatened with them if they were to fall afoul of any other law during that time. So certainly a chilling effect. Given Norbert's relationship with authorities telling him what to do, and his response, I decided, yes, this would be a great song for our flower communion. We would be happy, or we would just engage in a spiritual practice of trying to be happy, in solidarity with all those who are persecuted for expressing their birthright, joy, shared and witnessed in community. And then I was very proud yesterday to see members of my congregation turn out in large numbers to celebrate. They were celebrating Juneteenth, the end of slavery, which we now observe as a national holiday, even though we know the fight isn't over. So we celebrate, we take these opportunities to celebrate and dance. I believe that the time we spend celebrating strengthens our faith in humanity and in larger forces for good. It strengthens our trust that good is accessible everywhere, even growing out of the cracks of the most hideous prisons. People who survive oppression and abuse, internalized oppression and depression, hang on with the hope that there will someday be something to celebrate. And that hope is nourished in good times when we take a break when the sun comes out. The soon-to-be president of our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, said in a preaching class that hope is the center of UU theology. Hope allows us to hold in our attention the ugliest truths about humanity and survive. All of us here today have survived many things, many hard things. We have known or acted like we know that the rose will open. Through spiritual practices like celebration, we have burned away our fear And we know that can happen again. We have survived many hard things. But it's important to acknowledge none of us survives life. Mary Gregolia wrote the song, "I Know This Rose Will Open," in seminary as an assignment for a class on death and dying. It's a eulogy in a song. It's her personal eulogy. Here's what she says about the song. "The way I hear, feel it. I am the rose. Opening is in my nature. Even when it comes time to let go of this body practice, I know this rose will open. And although I may feel afraid of the changes, afraid of the unknown I can't control, afraid of allowing the ego to follow the calling of something deeper, I know those fears will burn away in the fire of transformation, this very physical practice of loving and living and letting go. And as my fear burns away, I trust that the wings of my heart, my soul, will unfurl my wings. Yes, I know this rose will open. I am the rose. We are all the rose opening." As UUs, we call our memorial services celebrations of life. It is good to grieve, but often when we have allowed our deepest grief to come forward, joy comes in as well, a remembrance of what was wonderful about the person, and an appreciation for how they live on in the world. So at the end of the flower communion I led in Manhattan, I pointed out that the flowers we took home would wilt and fade. I encouraged people to keep their flowers a little longer than they might normally so they could watch it change. We're socialized to think of wilting flowers or people getting older as sad or even ugly. Most of the time-lapse videos of flowers blooming cut off right after the color bursts forward. We miss so much of the story that way. I certainly hope I'm lucky enough to live another 40 years, and I expect there will be a lot of beauty in the meantime, especially if I practice noticing it and celebrating it.
In all we do here and a lot of what we do elsewhere, we are this church. We build it with our efforts, with our sense of humor, with our presence. But the church also needs financial assistance, hence this moment in the service. Please give generously to the church. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. video reminds me, if you haven't already done so, try to get to Luce Park to see the rose garden there before, in fact, the roses are largely gone. So, join me in saying the words as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open.
Go in peace, go in joy, go find something to celebrate.